and the Mullet magazine, and it's day 2 of Outdoor Retailer here in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Our backdrop tonight, just outside of Park City where we're staying, and it's absolutely lovely. Huge day today, walking the big convention floor. Multiple pavilions and the main hall, and as a gear girl, it was a little bit overwhelming. But we came away with some really interesting products that aren't necessarily in the paddle wheelhouse, but are certainly applicable to paddling. We spent a lot of time with some of the nutrition offerings and some of our favorite things that we'll talk about here in a few moments. Overwhelming day for me, anyway.
There was every room was attached to a room, and each one had different products. And this one had bug spray, and that had solar panels, and then there were boots. And depending on what section you were walking through, they looked at different parts of your body or apparel. So when you're going through the shoe area, everybody sort of looks down to see what kind of shoes you're wearing, and when you're walking through the electronics, they're checking out what kind of watch you're wearing, and they're looking at your hats in the hat section, and it's kind of funny because it's they look first at your name tag, then to see what you're wearing and what your deal is, because you got to realize that this is a show for buyers and sellers. So the retailers are going in and they are making their orders for the upcoming year. So this summer show, you're finding people that are getting stuff for the winter, they're getting stuff for the spring, and even into next summer. So they have to pre-order a lot, and even though some of the manufacturing times have been compressed, they still have to order ahead, and they also get big deal breaks because the manufacturers can then make more accurate orders. They don't have to charge as much, and they don't get stuck with as much inventory. So it's not a end user or a consumer show as much as it just where the shops go to buy so they can sell to you.
So the stuff we saw today, or a lot of the stuff that we saw today, is stuff that y'all will see in the coming year or so, most likely. And if I could just borrow a Doctor Who-ism, Outdoor Retailer, definitely bigger on the inside.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's like football fields filled with beef jerky and headlamps.
Speaking of beef jerky,
actually that does lead us to our first one.
Epic Bar and Epic Jerky, longtime favorite of mine. They have come out with a new line of flavors. Wild boar is one of them. Venison is another, and
salmon bites, maple and dill.
Chicken sriracha. This one's very spicy. I love these because they come either in the bite-sized packets or in kind of a energy bar format. Super protein rich. The wild boar here has 9 grams of protein. I'm one of these kind of folks that has to eat protein constantly during my longer endurance paddles like Chattajack, and so this is a great thing for me to have in my pack, and it just tastes really good.
Yeah, and I mean, we are so far beyond snap into a Slim Jim. I mean, and also when you saw the bars, I was like candy bar, granola bar, energy bar, meat bar. Like it didn't seem like something. It's like ice cream cone, meat cone. I didn't exactly see where that was coming, and then I tried the samples, and I completely converted, especially on the bites.
This is the man though that has been talking about something called Chipotle bacon for the last month. So.
Yes, and we did. It's kind of a rite of passage when you come here and you stay with our friends. Betsy Reisner has always opened her home to many of the people in the industry to stay. We're fortunate to be able to stay with her. We're very thankful for her.
Thank you, Betsy.
And on the way to Salt Lake City, there's No Worries Cafe, and they have this thing called Chipotle bacon. And you can't eat a lot of it because it's super rich. It's sweet. It's got a ton of sauce on it, but it's awesome. Everyone from Slater Trout to Chuck Patterson. So many people have been through this restaurant in a gas station, and it's hilarious. So we started off the day with Chipotle bacon, and one of our first stops was meat
Meat bars.
So, but really love what Epic's doing. Locally sourced, they're handcrafted, gluten-free, soy-free, 100% wild-caught salmon for here.
The wild boar, really interesting story on this. Wild boar in certain parts of the country, including where we're from, North Carolina, and places like Texas, is actually becoming kind of a problem. They are very destructive to the environment, and they're mean. You do not want to run into one on a trail. So Epic is working with folks in Texas to actually sort of tackle that problem by culling the wild boar and then using that meat in their product. So it's got an environmental piece to it as well as just a good tasting, good product kind of thing.
Yeah. All right, now to sort of swing the pendulum back to the sup side. So there are there's the main center, and then there's the pavilions, and there are 4 sections of the pavilions, 4 different buildings. The first building is camping. Second building is a lot of the apparel, tech fabrics, that kind of stuff. Maybe not some of the bigger companies, but some of the newer companies. Some of the nutrition, yoga, and then you get to the pavilion 4, which is where some of the sup stuff is, and also the tank. So as we go from meat bars, we're going to just switch over to Futures Fins. We stopped there, and they're doing a really cool thing where they're using post-industrial scraps, wood scraps, and they're making fins now to try and decrease the impact and like pretty much lessen the dumpster impact of some of the building of the housing. So they have these fins are phenomenal. They're actually about half the weight of normal fins. Same strength, really nice. I saw a keel fin that was one of the prototypes. It's just beautiful, and it's nice to see some of the companies going into that direction.
Yeah, there seems to be kind of a trend towards a lot of that, and Starboard is kind of on the cutting edge of that as well, with some of their sustainable materials. And we're going to have more about that
Bic
coming.
is doing a great job with that too, some of the cork boards, and then so we'll swing back to the food, because as we got through the meat bars, well, we're doing all these endurance races, and a lot of people are doing a lot of training, and you have to eat. So and we all have our favorites. We actually went by the GoMacro, and I like cashew nut, the peanut. The peanut butter. They are vegan, macrobiotic, gluten-free. They had sponsored the Carolina Cup, and there were bars in all the bags 2 years ago, and that's where I first got turned on them. And it's really digestible, different size bars. I would cut them up and eat one every about 8 to 10 minutes, just little pieces. And they have a whole new line of bars that
the Thrive bar,
phenomenal.
Ginger lemon.
Yeah,
my favorite.
The chocolate sea salt coconut, I believe,
really
was out of this world. They've just got a little more crunch, a little more texture, and a little larger. They were great. We like the whole new line. Can't wait to try a bunch of them.
Yeah, I kind of want to eat this right now.
Yeah. Then we walked down to Tram Bites, and
Kate's.
Kate's,
By
yeah.
Kate's.
She
Kate's
was
real
great.
Food, real energy.
And what I loved about her, all of these, not all of these, but a lot of these companies, there were people that didn't have what they wanted to eat, so they made it. And then people liked what they made, so they made more of it. And then they created a bar, and then they created a company. And a lot of these people that are at the show are the ones that made the products. It's same with Kate's, it's same with All Good. There's a lot of these companies. So you get there, and you're the fruit strips yesterday. It's really cool. So you hear their story, and one of the things that Kate had said was that she wanted to have a bar, the experience of eating the bar to match the experience of being outside. It's something that matched up. So when you were out there riding your mountain bike and you were eating this, it was just as explosive. And I think the peanut butter milk chocolate trail mix ones, these little ones, and they come in little pieces, a lot of them. like 4 chunks, but it was like the best Rice Krispie treat thing.
Healthy Rice Krispie treat.
Oh,
You could imagine.
I would look forward to eating this at mile 5. That kind of stuff.
Well, and the interesting thing, I just noticed on the back of her packaging, so little bites in here. She's actually got a little graphic on how you can twist the packaging to save the inside, the rest for later.
Yep.
So you can have 1 or 2, twist the package, stick it in your Camelback, good to go for later.
Yep. And dogs are all having a good time over here. So one of the other things as we were going through there in the camping was a lot of rooftop tents this time around. And again, this is like want to use the clutch when we get into camping because there were tents. I mean, there are whole sections that we didn't even get into because we were focused on other things. But the rooftop tents are really interesting. And there's James Baroud, Baroud. They have these rooftop tents that come in like a clamshell. So it's very much like the clamshell,
Cargo box.
Cargo boxes.
Car top box.
Square, and they come down, they buckle, so everything's self-contained. You can leave the sleeping bag, any of the soft goods inside, and waterproof, and it's just really great. It had a solar fan on top. One of the things that Lisa pointed out right away is, well, if that's on top of your car, where are your boards? Like, where do you put your boards? And he said, oh yeah, we're gonna be developing a new one for that. So it's actually a rooftop tent that goes on a rack that has a rack on top of it that your boards go on. So it's like a rack, a rooftop tent, a rack, and boards, which sounds like a happy sandwich at about 75 miles an hour, but I'm sure they'll work out the details. But the idea that you can open this thing up and be off the ground with a ladder, and it just looked like really great, especially when you guys are traveling to events and you're maybe camping along the way. So it's a step up from a step down from an RV or a trailer that you're pulling, a step up from maybe
sleeping on the ground.
Sleeping on the ground. So really enjoyed that. All right, kids. Hey.
Labradors.
Thank you.
Gotta love them.
We're working here. I know, it's bad. Anyway, we got to look at Zane's his hydrofoil, which was on a Hypernut, and it was just his prototype. But to see what he's riding on, it's like a bath mat on top of this just space age. I mean, the foils are crazy looking in person. They're really cool. They're, I guess, hydrodynamic, but they look like wings of an airplane. And it was really cool to see that in person because you see them on the videos, but you don't have an idea of too much of scale. Right. So, like that a lot. We stopped in a couple other camping things. The one thing that I really liked was the big Agnes Sleeping Bags. And
he's just now learning about big Agnes Sleeping Bags.
I'm sorry if everybody else knew about these things, and I was in my Marvel comics, flannel sleeping bags since I was little. But these things are awesome. And not only is the bag comfortable, it's like a double wide bag, which is great because I don't like the idea of being like that. I don't sleep well like that. But the insert on the back, you insert the pad on the back, so the bag is not separate from the pad, which is really nice.
So Big Agnes, I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yeah.
Big Agnes realized that when we sleep in the sleeping bag on the ground, that compresses all the fill in the sleeping bag, and you get absolutely no insulative benefit from it. So what they did was they took all the fill from the underside of the bag, side that you'd be sleeping on and smushing against the ground, took it out, redistributed it elsewhere in the bag in the places where we most lose heat, and that's different for men versus women. So women's specific bag, men's bag. And then they created a sleeve where you take your mattress pad, your blow-up pad, your Thermarest, whatever it is, and you slip that in that sleeve, you get insulation, and you never roll off the mattress pad. And it's awesome. It's awesome for backpacking. It's awesome for kayak, sup camping, touring. And the double bag that John fell in love with is great for car camping. So if you're the person that always rolls off the mattress pad when you're camping, you gotta check out Big Agnes.
And I know what you're thinking. It's like, okay, what about the boards? Like, what about the paddles? First of all, the paddles aren't here because remember the companies don't come to this, and that's kind of it's their prerogative not to spend $45,000 to show their paddles to clients that they already have. I get that. But it's a bummer because it would be really cool. But I did get to check out the matchsticks again at Hobie, which was awesome. And there's some good options. But the reason that we're going into the camping side is that we are part of a bigger community. So we are paddle, but paddle includes, outrigger, surf ski, kayak. So all of these outdoor things, and as you guys start to get mileage and that, you're going to start realizing you can go on excursions, and you're going to start to discover everything, thinking that you're inventing the wheel that was already invented by canoe and kayak. So you're going to start to try and map out new routes, and then you realize there's a book like that thick of the rivers and streams and lakes in North Carolina or wherever you live that's been around for 30 years that shows you exactly where you can enter, exit, what to look for. So I think that these excursions, these going all the way down the Mississippi, going the East Coast, or just going a couple of miles from your house and doing a long river run, I think it's going to be more and more common. I think a lot of us are going to be going out to the national parks and really taking advantage of getting outside again. I think there's a whole resurgence coming. So that's why we're giving you a little bit of, check this out, look at this, this kind of tent. But might as well get into the boards because there were a lot of them, and there was some really, really cool stuff. And I know you spent a lot of time at Starboard. You might as well just go back to some of the work that they're doing with the renewable materials.
Well, yeah, they are starting an initiative with some other folks, a collaborative initiative to really start putting renewable materials and recycled material into the boards that they make and their other products to make sure that what they're producing is sustainable. And we're going to interview some of the folks who are in the front line of that soon, so I don't want to give away everything. Okay,
but what I will say about Starboard, what I really, really liked was, so we've had all this safety talk, and tomorrow there's actually a meeting of the ACA, SUPIA, and there's going to be a big safety meeting, and there's a cow going nuts and someone's yelling at the cow, so just bear with us.
We have a leash. Maybe
what's cool is
lasso the cow with.
We go out on demo day on the lake and we look, and there isn't a PFD as far as the eye can see. No one's wearing a PFD except for the canoe and kayakers, and there aren't any leashes anywhere. And then we notice that every single Starboard that's on the beach has a leash attached. They have a sticker that says leashes save lives, and they actually got behind their sticker, and they thought it would be ridiculous to have a sticker that says leashes save lives and not have leashes on it. So as we're demoing, and granted, tons of people, very safe environment, a lot of professionals there, a lot of industry people, not a lot of new paddlers, but it was interesting because here's the whole industry. No one's wearing any safety, including us. We were trying out boards and we were thinking, this is...
I felt naked.
It was kind of weird. I have to say it's kind of weird. So want to throw a shout out to Starboard because every one of their boards had it. It doesn't mean that the other people are doing anything wrong. It was just kind of an omission.
SIC put a leash on me.
Yeah, and a couple of them did. This is not all of them. But we definitely celebrate the ones that did. I think it's kind of the way the industry has been for a long time, and we're in the middle of a period of change. So...
These, you might notice, are kind of different, and these leashes are going to be shipped out with all of Starboard's inflatables, I believe. And they kind of remind me of the newfangled garden hoses, but they're, I guess it's nylon, and they stretch, and you can step on it, and it just kind of squishes. Super strong, though, still very, very strong, but kind of lower profile. And I noticed when I put this on my ankle that it has a really nice fit, and it's snug and it's comfortable, but it's not bulky. So it means I'm going to be able to walk around a little bit
No, they're not
Here?
designed to be used in waves. These
No.
are really just to make sure that you and your board are connected.
Right.
And it's always important to make sure that you have the right leash for the right board, for the right
Exactly.
situation. White water, you would never use something like this.
Right. The big surprise today in the SUP world, well, in the paddle world, was what we saw at Surftech.
Well, that's where I was going.
Oh, okay.
We didn't. Okay, so this was kind of a surprise for everybody, including people at the booth. And for me too. I got a text from Lisa with a photograph, and I didn't know what I was looking at, and it was
An inflatable Bark Commander 12
prone.
prone.
Yeah. So
It was amazing.
now, while it's not the first inflatable prone, C4 has one that they don't promote, did not bring. Most people don't even know that they have, and I know two people we know have them and are trying them out now. So it's not the first, but it is a remarkable replica to the actual hard carbon fiber Commander. And this is the first prototype to come out, so it was immediately there were things that they saw when they saw that they would some of the seams are a little bit raised. They're gonna tape down so that you don't rub your arms. But all in all, the volume, everything looked really great. We asked about PSI. There was a lot of shrugs, somewhere between 12 and 20 probably. There's no way to tell, but for me, it's like, how long is it going to take to pump up? And when that thing turns to green, I'm like, that's good. For other people, they need to do between 18 and 19. Whatever it is on the gear side, who knows? But it looked really good. And it's prones typically are one of those, you throw them in the water and you go kind of things. And the idea that it's an inflatable version of that is kind of nice. I imagine rolled up, it'll be significantly smaller than your average inflatable board to begin with,
Right.
and really cool. Everybody was kind of gravitated to that. That was, and along those lines, they also extended their regular Commander line. So last time we were at OR, we saw the Commander Light come out, and that was for women or basically anybody under 160 pounds. But there have been a lot of people that ride the Commander, the stock 12 Commander, that maybe are not quite large enough to go to the 14. This might be too much volume, but the Commander was maybe not quite enough volume for them. So they have a Commander S that's going to be an extension. So the extension to the smaller was the Commander Light, and a little bit larger is the Commander S, and that has a little bit more volume, 3 feet up from the tail. And the idea is that when a heavier paddle knee paddles, it doesn't tombstone. So you have a little bit more volume, so it can support that weight. And also when you ride waves, that helps too, because when you get your weight back, you aren't like wheeling down the front. It actually can hold. You still have your control because your nose is out, but you're able to not stall as much. And they also have some great color. So the really electric. That was actually across the board. We saw a lot of like more vibrant, more happy, more like get up and go type colors all the way around.
And they had the Expedition touring bark board on the floor today. That is what we'll be seeing in shops. And it differs a little bit in the colorway from what they had at the demo yesterday. Actually, I think what we saw today is sharper looking even.
Yeah.
But it has that darker wood deck, which is really unusual.
Yeah, I haven't seen that since maybe early Tahoe Sup or something like
Yeah.
that had that.
Yeah.
And really cool. And again, I think the inflatable technology has gotten to the point where you can really, people can start to really make some really nice shapes. They're understanding how they work. They're taking advantages of some of the dynamics of the materials, like the Imagine, for instance. Their Mega Sup, you can create rocker. If you saw the first issue of Mullet magazine, it talks about creating nose and tail rocker with that. As you're inflating it, putting pressure over a fulcrum, not like a pointy, but over, you can create that. So they were able to figure out from how to not just make lemonade. It's just there's some things they can do with these things that are better. And and while the top ones are continuing to evolve, Hala seems to be at the top. Uli used to be like the best manufacturing around. They still are. They didn't have their presence here. We didn't see their boards. Haven't seen them in a while, but they just have really good manufacturing. Hala has now raised the bar. They're up there now. They've got the rigid carbon fiber strip, and it's phenomenal. And Lisa didn't get a chance to be on there, so I don't mean to rub this in. We talked about it yesterday. Really like that, but and then across the board, you see these other inflatables, and there's some really great options. I don't think everybody is up to the rigidness of the Hala yet, but when you look at the Imagine, they're doing great things. Like their big boards are phenomenal, and they're well received. People are buying them up. They're buying a lot of them. But they also have the docking station, and I've seen a couple of these inflatable docking stations. So you get a docking station, might run you on the wholesale side somewhere around $1,000, $1,200. We don't have the exact prices, but then you get 8 inflatables, and they all dock and tether together and anchor. So you can have either a location for a rental out on the water where people are coming or going, teach a yoga class. They're really cool. So these docking stations and some of these inflatable environments, not just the mats and the rafts, but they come these little islands that, for lakes, just outside the break at the ocean. It's just like a place where everybody just gathers. I mean, when no one's paddling them, there's people all over them all the time. So really cool stuff. I thought Imagine's got a great full line of inflatables that I really liked. Starboard, I mean, they've been making, I think their race inflatables, you can move those boards. They go.
Seriously can. They are impressive.
Yeah.
Maybe not as rigid as what Hala is doing, but I know people who actually prefer to paddle on the inflatable race version in the Starboard line than on some of their own rigid race boards.
Yep.
Actually, and one of the things that Starboard is starting to do is work with some of the glues and changing how they construct the inflatable to make it even lighter than it already is, and yet still is durable.
Yep. And now we have an L. So then we got back to some of the accessories because
we love to accessorize.
Well, I'll tell you that the bags, so many dry bags and
phone cases
and there's so many. You start talking about the technology, and all of a sudden it's 30 minutes later, and there are people waiting, and you realize that it's just there's not enough time to see everything. Fortunately, we had help. We had our Northwestern correspondent,
Collie Yang, and
doing a great
Joel,
job.
and they'll be posting up more of what they saw on Distressed Mullet on our Facebook page. So look for that.
So I think 3 things that I have left are Hydroflask, All Good, and Skratch. And I'll start with Skratch because Skratch Labs are really great electrolyte drink, kind of energy. It's a mix, and I use it for my long paddles. I really like it. I use lemon
very
lime.
Light.
Yeah, very digestible. They use really good ingredients. They also have the Portables book that we're starting to do some recipes with, and we'll be posting about. But they have this cookie mix, and it's kind of
the cookie mix.
You need like a stick of butter, a cup of your favorite stuff to throw in it, maybe nuts, chocolate chips, fruit. You can make it savory,
crushed up
whatever.
Reese's peanut butter.
And it's a really good. You basically make your own bars, and they're delicious. I mean, they're really good. So love Skratch, and then Hydroflask. We're all about dun dun dun.
Dun, dun.
So
this is the new tumbler from Hydroflask that will be available early next year, and you might notice it's in October
or November, I think,
of this coming
maybe
year?
Before Christmas.
Okay. It's bigger than a pint glass, fits in the hand, will fit in all cup holders, but probably the kicker with it is
insulated.
It has a truly insulated lid. So hot or cold, whatever you put in this bad boy, it's going to stay that way.
Hydroflask is one of the companies that everybody has copied. Every time they come out with something, you'll see a knockoff of it about maybe 9 to 12, 16 months later. You'll say, oh, I saw that lid on this. And but what's great about them is they continue to innovate. So we absolutely love them. I have a drawer of different ones that I carry with me.
Like wooden spoons, you can never have too many Hydroflasks.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then
to go in it though, you might want this new energy drink from our friends at Goo, the gel people. This has me truly excited. It has electrolytes, carbs, caffeine, and amino acids. And I am very, very excited to try this as a potential for my hydration bladder for Chattajack, because it has all of those things. The amino acids are going to help me. I'm the protein girl, so I need that as I keep going. Plus the carbs, plus the electrolytes. And this is the Summit tea flavor, and it tastes like the best glass of iced tea you've ever had.
I have to go get some of that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I missed that booth. And finally, it's all good. One of the things that we have been intimately aware of is skin cancer, and wear sunscreen. And it is very important not just to wear sunscreen, but to wear the right sunscreen. And I don't think that people are really looking at the ingredients. When you go to Costco and you buy an 8-pack of copper tone spray and you just coat your kids with chemicals, you're not just putting crap on them. There is a very big concern about the environment, and they've actually shown some major damage to reefs due to some of the ingredients.
Oxybenzoin or benzene is the primary culprit.
They're finding this in these, it's just destroying the reef. So when you look for sunscreens, there are a couple that we really like. Banks Blocks is one of them, and one that we looked at today, which is all good. They're coming out with a sunscreen butter. Actually, this tin is already, I believe this is already out. Mm-hmm. You're talking about 5 ingredients in this. Coral reef safe, it's biodegradable, gluten-free too. But this is it's got zinc oxide and beeswax, and
it's going to stick with the beeswax.
Yeah, there's basically 5 ingredients, and it's phenomenal. The sunscreen butter. It's also going to come out in a stick later in the season, or later next year. They're working on the delivery, and you got your hands.
I discovered All Good's Goop several years ago, just kind of on a random whim. This is a fabulous cream for blisters from paddling, minor cuts and scrapes. If you just want a little extra moisturizing, or even if you just love the smell of lavender and just kind of want some lavender salve, it is phenomenal, extremely healing. It has calendula and the olive oil, as well as the lavender and some other really nice healing herbs that just make those blisters almost melt away, or the calluses melt away. And we talked with the owner of All Good today, and they're farmers, and she was telling me that one of the reasons why the lavender is so forward in their product is they wait until the very last minute to put the essential lavender oil in so that it doesn't evaporate away, and then they cap it immediately. And I think that's one of the things that
beats the hell out of bag bomb, even though all these cows are fighting on it. But
yeah, but this is just kind of good to carry, keep around the house, keep in the medicine cabinet, keep in your bag, in the car, or in your purse, whatever. I don't leave home without it, actually.
And they've got a really great, they have a sunscreen for kids. There's an SPF 30 and an SPF 50, and it's something that when you're putting it on, you're not thinking you're just dousing your kids in some kind of crazy chemicals.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff. So tomorrow is another full day, 9 to 6. It's our last day there, so we're going to really focus on a lot more of the boards. You got to understand that this very first day, all of the buyers, they have 100% of their money. So the people who are showing want to get to their salespeople, really want to stay busy with their retailers. So try and stay out of the way the first day a little bit, because as much as they'd like to get some press and this and that, they really do need to make ends meet and pay for their trip here, and it's very expensive for these people to be here. So tomorrow they'll be a little bit more relaxed. I'll talk a little bit more about our Garmin experience. We're going to be visiting with Casio. So some of these heart rate monitor watches, the kind of Fitbit type watches and different wrist accessories that you can get to track your mileage and your fitness. So,
And I'm going to be taking a look at Hala's flexible fins for river running.
Yeah.
And river paddling, particularly on inflatables. I'm excited about that. They've got some really cool offerings.
Yep, and we have the big safety meeting. So maybe I'll have some really cool things to talk about tomorrow night.
Awesome. Great.
Done.